Hey guys, welcome back to MBTV. This is Daniel, and today we're going to go into the INFP personality type with dating, relationships, compatibility, types that would go with an INFP, and love. We're going to first take a look at the dating aspect for INFPs. And so for all the INFPs watching this video, you're going to be able to not only learn how to date effectively, but you're also going to learn a lot about relationships, types for growth, whether it's friendships or relationships, intimately, love and needs and just things to be aware of, areas of growth. The INFP is going to be very slow moving in the dating scene. They're going to either, everything's really about how they feel about the other person. If everything's matching up to, what they expect, what they want, they walk the fine line of, what's not tangible, creating a world of what people are going to mean to them, and, a world where it's actually based in reality. And so we have the INFP type individual navigating through the dating world. If you're, let's just say for example, if you're a masculine INFP, you're going to be wanting to be in the pursuing aspect of the dating world. If you're a guy and you're an INFP, and you have masculine energy, you're going to want to be pursuing. If you're a girl, most likely, and you're feminine, assuming so, you can interchange the gender, you're going to be the one on the receiving end, and being in that freedom, that creativity, that liveliness and fun and enjoyment of the world. But as an INFP dating, you have to really focus on the grounding nature of logically understanding what somebody will mean to you in the sense of objectifying. Because if you don't objectify what somebody means to you, or what somebody's starting to mean to you, because you can get really carried away with the values and the idealism that follows and accompanies the love that can be brought to a relationship or a connection with somebody. If you get carried away with the idealism without that groundingness of objectivity for yourself, you get very carried away and you become very blind to future implications of this connection. And so NI, introverted intuition, is not really a strong suit for you, although you may be very great at understanding patterns and understanding what somebody can mean to you, and kind of observing them and the behavior that they have, and they may match up to your values and everything may seem to go all according to plan, but you have to remember to see things in the long term, right? And so if you're on the male side of this, if you're a male INFP and you have masculine energy, remember that you're going to have your most success in the dating life, in the dating world, when you're really kind of using that value you have for how you see things, and staying true and kind of bringing that value into reality. So what that means is when you're out dating, women or whoever, the person who has the feminine energy, remember that you have a purpose to why you're dating. Remember that you're trying to find somebody that meets your own values or the lifestyle you want to live. This is kind of how you build value for your end. There is a reason, a purpose, and this person that you're seeking should feel real special with the fact that this is something that you hold dear. This is really important to you. Finding someone that can either respect or match your ideals and your values. They're not just going to be any person that you can find. You're very particular, and so you want to find somebody in particular who's going to mean something to you. So a struggle point with INFPs in the dating world is really kind of creating actions, escalating. And so INFPs are very slow moving in nature, so it takes them, without that external push of somebody to help them or support them make a move, INFPs, I believe, can really take a long time to bring out their intentions into the world. So I would definitely recommend INFPs just go do it. If you want to do something, just do it. If you want to kiss her, just go and do it. Just ask her out on that date. Don't care about the overthinking nature of how how you're going to naturally be. Don't overthink. Don't over encumber yourself with thoughts that will hold you back from creating the actions that need to be had. A lot of INFPs out there, if only they just acted instead of thought, because INFPs are just kind of known for who they are, being a very open and perceptive and authentic. And so when you actually bring these authentic thoughts into the real world and you create these actions and you like somebody and you show for how you feel about someone, that person already knows kind of, whether they know it or not, how you feel, how important it is that you are expressing. And so I would definitely recommend INFPs explore creating more actions in the dating world. Just get out there and just do, instead of trying to understand how to be, right? Because the idea is that you have your outward appearance kind of way of being, but just kind of don't worry about it so much so. Kind of like the INTP. Don't worry so much so about providing a certain image or being a certain way in your environment. Just kind of be who you are, and the polarity will take care of itself. The extrovert will find you, or the person who is interested in you will find you, and it's just up to you to really create that action. INFPs are romantic in general, and so this is a strong suit when it comes to the dating world, really being able to express your feelings to somebody, but at the same time, you can't let yourself get ahead. You have to remember to not put this person on a pedestal. Remember that the dating scene is really for you to explore and for each other, whoever you find yourself with, explore the future and the present moment and how you kind of operate with one another, exploring if this is kind of going to work. And so you may have particular standards of what a relationship is. It's important to remember to stay flexible, to remember that people have their own journey, and to always respect, people's privacy and their own particular needs. INFPs really, I can see, value communication. They can value quality time even, or touch. Anybody can have a particular love language, but I see more often than not that INFPs really value communication. They have expert intuition. So it's going to be really important, if you're an INFP or somebody that is an INFP and you're looking to date them, that you really hone in on that expert intuition. Make sure that you are really talking about ideas, thoughts, and insights that matter to the INFP, or if you're an INFP, to you. That's really important for you. Make sure that your values are being respected and that you're able to appreciate the other person's values. Make sure that's priority, but also, make sure you have those conversations. Make sure that you can have these intuitive conversations that you really want. You really want to get to know the other person, and you want to make sure that the other person is genuinely curious to know you and who you are, if you're an INFP. And so this is really going to invoke that attraction. It's going to show you if the compatibility that you have right now is doable. Person that you're potentially seeing is doable. And this is something that kind of coincides with relationships, with an INFP. It's really important that you not only have, the same standard or the same kind of appreciation for each other's values, and that you can live with these values, but you can grow in the sense that your love languages are met, and that you have active communication. You're able to share your thoughts and secrets with this person and feel comfortable in doing so. INFPs, if they don't release these thoughts, they're going to be overwhelmed and need to share these thoughts elsewhere, which is kind of how people go astray in relationships to begin with this lack of intimacy through words and thoughts. Not only physical intimacy, but mental and spiritual and secretive thoughts as well. Thoughts that people don't know about one another beyond the average person. Those thoughts are very important. They hold value. Remember also to be affectionate, be a little bit spontaneous. A lot of INFPs out there may be slow moving in general, but it's okay. It's okay to take your time, but you have to remember the motives that you have, either being a masculine INFP or a feminine INFP. So, if you're a masculine INFP, again, pursue and remember to create those actions in an authentic way. And if you're a feminine energy, to receive these, you don't want to go after another feminine or another masculine or a same energy coupling, because this doesn't invoke any kind of sexual attraction or polarity between you two. So always find somebody who's complementary and opposite energy of you. That's where you're really going to see that spark happen. In relationships, in the dating world, and as you approach the relationship kind of area, you have to remember that the idealism of the INFP is always there. The other world in which INFP envisions or sees their partner. And it's important that if you're dating an INFP, to always remember to ask kind of how they envision you or how they see you. Ask them the name characteristics of yourself. Ask them the name, explore how they see you. And if you're the INFP, remember that you can get carried away with how you see somebody. And so it's really important to really use your extroverted thinking and ground yourself with what's true or what's not true about the person you like. You can be misled to believe that somebody is a certain way and that you want them to fit your values and your ethics of how you see, how you carry yourself in the world. But, you have to remember that people are different. And so not only that, but you also do, you can get carried away with seeing people in a certain way. And, I've definitely seen this from time to time before. You want to make sure that you really ask those questions in the beginning, really have those insightful conversations on who that person is. And listening, is a strong suit that you guys have. So really use it in the dating area. And before you really commit to a relationship, one of the first things I would actually recommend you guys do is really ask yourself, do I know this person? Because how you engage with the ideas of this person will perpetuate your feelings for them. And so you want to make sure that you're investing in someone that you actually truly know. And so you never want to invest without that part of investigating. Make sure that you are liking the person that is actually who they say they are. Or it may be a situation where you think you know somebody, but then without asking them or qualifying them, and really getting to know them, they just ended up being somebody else. And you're like, well, you know what? That's not who I thought they were. And so, it is what it is at that point, and you have to adjust and make the decision whether or not to stay with them. But remember, as you explore one another, you will more and more discover who they are. And at that point, you have to remember to accept them or not, and appreciate their values as it stands. And remember how you or why you wanted to grow with them to begin with. A lot of people don't realize that, they don't ask the main question to be in a relationship or marriage. A lot of people don't ask themselves, how am I going to grow with this person? What are my reasons for being with this person? So when we actually take a look at the INFP in a relationship, we actually look at somebody who really values harmony and loyalty. You'll see that the INFP really not only encompasses the relationship, but really makes it a focal point of their life. And so what you'll see is with the INFP, they really put a lot of energy because in a relationships, letting somebody into the INFP's life is really important. And so, and it's important for you if you are an INFP to really let this person into your life and let them be a part of your day-to-day routines and rituals, to grow with this person. One of the ways that you can grow as an INFP is really start creating actions or experiences and really exploring the things that you really want to do in life and share this with your partner, and to say kind of, hey, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to make it kind of like an importance to bring this into my life in a positive way. And so To not get trapped in this kind of idealistic way of things that you want to do, and to bring it more into reality. And I'll get into some types that are really good for this actual area. But just to sum up, INFPs in relationships, they're very empathetic, they're very endearing, very understanding. They really want to get to know you. They really value this connection that they are now with you. And so remember that INFPs are very affectionate. They're very into communicating and really wanting to know how the other person feels about them. And so the INFP is going to be really desiring thoughts, like I was saying before. And it's important to give these thoughts to them. They require that communicative intimacy. And so, like I said before, also the inner mission that the INFP idealizes and visualizes, they really want to bring what they want to do in life to fruition. And so they may struggle with this because of their extroverted thinking. It's kind of less tangible for them, but slow moving towards growth, bringing their desires into their life is kind of at the forefront of their desires, I believe. And so helping them in this route will probably mean wonders for them. Some areas in which INFPs can grow within dating and relationships could be a little bit too idealistic, as I was saying before, especially in the dating stage of discovering people. Really get a handle on what's real, who somebody actually is, realistic, long term, or within that moment. I would actually, if I was an INFP, I would say to myself, all the characteristics of this person, the total embodiment of who this person is, does this make sense in the moment? Because if it makes sense in the moment, that's a really good indicator that it may make sense long term. So I would see it that way. I think INFPs can be a little conflict avoidant at times because they really like to maintain that harmony. They don't necessarily put off or not engage in conflict or arguments or differences, as long as there's an open forum to discuss it and discuss what needs to be said. And so I don't believe that INFPs beat around the bush, but I believe that it's really important to, once you have a thought that you're bothered by, is to bring it up with your partner, bring it up with the person at hand, and really sift through what is real, what's not real, what is going to be troubling or not. That's going to matter in the long run. You don't want to build up on resentment or have your intimacy crumble down to where you're going to be focused to talk to somebody else personally other than your partner. That's a big red flag. Make sure that communication holds strong, and just make it a ritual to attack the conflict and kind of really pursue having those conversations. It's going to end up really building your relationship. And so another area also is the inferior function TE, really getting out there, building that life you really want for yourself, not just thinking about it and fantasizing or visualizing it, but really creating and being in the purpose that you really want, pursuing your passions. And so it's really important that you just stay purposeful, but you really want to explore your purpose, explore what you love to do, and to enjoy that with your partner, and to explore their passions as well, to really get out there and experience. And so experiencing and creating actions is something that INFPs will really find invigorating. Maybe it enlivens the relationship that you may have with your partner. To really create long-lasting relationships, you always need to explore new experiences together. And thankfully for the INFP, you have extroverted intuition. You have so much that's just kind of catered towards spontaneity and exploring new things as it is. But having a partner that also appreciates the fact that you do need to get out there and experience only make it that much more important and vital for both of you to do that. So now we're going to go into the different types of growth for the INFP, and we're going to actually start off with INFP and ISFP. This is a same value kind of pairing, whether it's relationship or friendships. Both types share and appreciate more or less the same functions. You have extroverted feeling, you have extroverted thinking. You have what differs for the ISFP, introverted intuition and extroverted sensing. But when you create the coupling of the ISFP and the INFP, you have a relationship that's really built on exploring really in the real world. You have a real spontaneous and lively coupling. You have individual that really explores intimacy through actions. You have an intimacy more or less through experiencing together. A little less of the communication side unless both parties know that communication is really important still. The ISFP actually really does care still to communicate, especially with going through the feelings of what they're feeling, sharing that with their significant partner, being present with what each other are going through. And so you can actually have a very tight-knit pairing when it comes to emotional presence, right? Mapping out kind of what each other is going through. And so this can be a very passionate coupling, actually. The hard areas for this typing, it's really going to be potentially communication and maybe exploring the future, right? The future possibilities with one another and mapping that out, aside from the perceptive aspect of the relationship, because you have two types in this relationship that are perceptive. And so you have to remember that building and going forward and creating necessarily as far as purpose may kind of lack. So it's important to encourage and motivate one another to really do the things that you both really want to do. The INFP, I could see, is going to be more about always appreciating the ISFP, but it's really going to be about wanting to support the ISFP in their spontaneous routes for purpose and exploring their different routes, whereas the INFP and the ISFP may struggle in both areas as far as purpose, but they will both be motivating and encouraging. I think the INFP and the ISFP coupling would actually be very beneficial. Again, depending, same value types, an INFP who desires another INFP or ISFP, and vice versa. This is the same value desired pairing. And so this is what they're really going to appreciate about this coupling. Now, when we take a look at the next types, we have ENTJ and ESTJ. And so this pairing is a little bit more interesting because you have types that really balance each other out, especially with the ENTJ, INFJ, where this relationship is really geared towards their FI and their TE, similarly towards the ESTJ, but in different ways. The ENTJ is really going to help bring out the INFP's purpose to reality, which is something that the INFP really desires. They really want their passions to be explored, and for the ENTJ, it's really about exploring that future together with the INFP and really getting to know that INFP on a very personal level and always exploring who the INFP is and kind of building that relationship together as they go forward in the ENTJ's mission, while the INFP is going to be really exploring and really just always kind of appreciating the ENTJ and their values. So it's a very value-driven relationship when it comes to the FI and TE, but the ENTJ and the ESTJ both are really going to help bring out the TE in two different ways. For the ESTJ, you see a relationship that's really based on preserving values and really still bringing out the TE within the INFP. And again, it's engaging really because INFP is going to work on their purpose in life, but really for the ESTJ, it's going to be more about appreciating and respecting each other's values and respecting who they are as individuals and maintaining something together, preserving. Whereas the ENTJ, it's really about innovation. It's really about building and kind of going in a certain direction, it being the relationship or a mission. You can say that the relationship may potentially be a mission for the ENTJ and building something with that INFP. And so again, both these types will help bring the INFP come out of that idealistic kind of way of thinking and really bring them into reality. And not only that, but it would actually help the ENTJ really kind of get in touch with their humanitarian side or humanistic side and really kind of explore that emotional presence for themselves. They're both, for the ENTJ, INFP, they're actually both very well interested in intuitive thoughts, insights, perspectives. And so even though ENTJs don't have extroverted intuition, ENTJs do engage with NE for particular reasons. And so they will become more attracted to one another for the main reason that they both like to intuit and use intuition actually as a tool for life, because they're both their secondary function. Even though ENTJs have introverted intuition and INFPs have extroverted intuition, they both share intuition as a function, even though they're polars. So that's going to be really interesting. Whereas ESTJ, you really have a type dynamic that's based on preserving the relationship and meeting certain values and particular standards that both desire within a relationship. And it's just about respecting and appreciating those standards and values. There will be a particular quality of life that the ESTJ desires, whereas the INFP is totally okay with that and really wishes to explore themselves within that and more. Now, on top of that, we have the ENFJ and INFP relationship. And this is interesting too, because unlike the ESTJ and ENTJ relationship, you have a pairing that's both feeling driven and intuitively driven. You have type that wants to explore. ENFJ really help the INFP come out and explore the purpose that they may have or the passions that they may have. But it's really a relationship that's actually, it's a dual relationship. You know, they both kind of appreciate each function, but kind of in reverse orientation, where you have feeling, intuition, sensing, and thinking down the ladder of both types, but oriented differently towards the world. So this is always going to give this relationship a very particular uniqueness, may seem synchronistic at times, and it's very easy for this kind of coupling to really spark. I would say the ENFJ, the ENTJ, and ESTJ, and even potentially another ISFP or INFP, these types are really about sparking in some way. And so it really depends on the INFP's core desires, what they really desire in a partner. And so within the ENFJ relationship, you see like a really heavy spark, I would say. With the couples that I know, there is a spark there when it comes to this relationship. And again, both of these types do value communication. They do value intuitive conversation because they both have that secondary function. And so you have a type that kind of really goes hand in hand with one another for as long as they work on their tertiary functions, their SE. For the ENFJ, really getting out there and making those actions happen. And as long as INFPs work on that as well, I believe that both relationship can really explore what they really want in life and share it with somebody who actually understands what they're going through and understands who they are and appreciating that. So that's all I have for the INFP as far as relationships and dating and compatibility when it comes to friendships and relationships. I will mention that for the compatibility aspect, these are reference types based on the commonality and the correlation that these types have with INFPs for particular reasons. And so I would more or less say that any type can work as long as there's open communication and then there's the effort and willpower to do so. And so I know in some earlier videos, people were really saying, oh, Dan, well, I can't see so-and-so type getting along with so-and-so type. Any type can go along with any type. Type is really just an indicator for people. It's just a preferred kind of thing. And so what I would say is any type in my experience, but it's a matter of being aware of your type, the other person's type, if you're using this model within a relationship, and really appreciating what the person has to offer you and asking yourself if that's enough for you. So if you want to work with me personally in a dating or relationship coaching aspect, you're more than welcome to reach out and we can start talking about what's really holding you back from the lifestyle you want to live in with a significant other or a future significant other. We can explore what needs to be done and create a strategy for you as far as dating relationships or marital situations, as far as you're in a marriage and really want to explore or enhance your relationship with your significant other in a marriage. So there's a lot of different applications to dating and relationship coaching. Aside from that, there's a lot of type videos that I still have to get to. I hope you appreciated this video and stay tuned for my next videos in this video series. So this has been Daniel and I'll see you next time. Take care. You're always striving for the long-term agenda, similarly to the INTJ that I will be covering very soon. Both types, INTJs and INFJs, have a very hard time